You know security is hard, so let's assume we're probably gonna get pwned by noon. But if we all start to get the basics right, we might not fully get pwned until tonight.
Hey, there we go. All right, let me just check I've been a week on vacation, so I don't know sometimes if the buttons and the dials are, doing the stuff that they should. So I think that they are, which is awesome. And let me also just do a quick chat test. Test. Hey, Sean. All right, everything is going swell, and that makes me happy to be alive. Well, welcome to the 7 Minute Security Podcast live stream, where every Thursday at 1 p.m. we do this kind of stuff. Something security flavored. I've got the giggities today because I'm talking about do-it-yourself pen test Dropbox tips. Now I'll show you in a moment. This is a series we've been doing off and on for maybe the better part of a year or two. And outside of our Tales of Pen Test Pwnage, this is probably the series I get the most questions about because folks like yourself, you are pen testers and you want to automate the process of like building and deploying a pen test Dropbox. That's something that we need to do really quickly. We'll get one in from client A, that came from Florida, and we might have a day to just turn around and get via FedEx that box out the door. And as being the good security people that we are, we want to scrub that box, but we want to rebuild it and have it consistently pull down the same set of tools, the same config, all that kind of good stuff. So today the reason I've got the is because I found out, and this isn't like rocket science, it's not any secret sauce, but I figured out the missing link to make this a fully automated deployment of building that Windows VM, pulling down all the tools, installing the agents I need, naming the machine, all that kind of stuff. So that's what we're gonna talk about. So I'm gonna just review. I'm gonna pop into my dummy machine, my zombie machine. I'm gonna go over a few of the kind of important time saving things that have helped me in these builds to not have to do things like, okay, run Windows updates, click next. Okay, wait for it, reboot, come in again, more Windows updates, that kind of stuff. I just want to review some of those real efficiency and time saver things that I've come across, um, and then get to kind of current day where my big dilemma was I have this monster script that does all the things, but then I need to reboot the machine so it'll take the new name that I gave it, and then I need to install some remote agents and things that I want to have uniquely named, so that when I'm looking in my portal, I see, oh, there's NUC1, there's NUC2, there's NUC3. I don't want them all to have, the default system name. That's not gonna help me. And then we'll take a quick commercial break. Actually, the commercial break, if you don't mind, it's a bit of a shameless self-promotion break because our 7 ways to not get hacked training offering, I recently made that into a computer-based training, and I worked with a producer out of California, I think he's at, or New York, to make kind of a flashy, cool 2-minute like YouTube promo. I just put it up on YouTube, but I wanted to just showcase it and sort of debut it here right in the middle of the episode, and then I will show you the missing link that made this all work. And boy, oh boy, was I excited last night when I got a NUC in from a customer. I booted it to my Windows unattended ISO setup, and just I walked away. And at the end of about 2 hours, I got an email from myself saying the build was totally done. And I looked on my splash top and my 9 night portal, and there they were. They were checked in, and this bad boy was literally in a position where I could just shut it down, drop it in a box, and send it to customer two. And then if we have time in the tangent department, I have a story about ATVs and bee stings because I was on vacation last week and had to make a semi-emergency teledoc app call. to a doctor to address my arm, which had swollen up like Nutty Professor. So that made the vacation memorable. So if there's time and or if you want to hang around, we'll talk about ATVs and bee stings. All right. All right. Couple just news and shameless self promo things. My buddy Ken and my friends over at Red Seer are putting on Hack Red Con. That's coming up September 8th and 9th at the Louisville Slugger Museum and Factory, and they have given me a free ticket code, which you see on the bottom of your screen there. I don't know exactly how many tickets this is good for. I think the code is good until it's not. So this is the first time I've shared it, so that's a little perk you get for coming to the live streams. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And check out their website because the lineup looks amazing. I'm not going to be able to make it, and I'm really bummed about that because they just put on a good show with a lot of heavy hitters. So hackredcon.com, and don't forget to use the promo code of HRC7MinSec. I can't say for sure if that's case sensitive, but security things sometimes are. So use the case sensitive code. Cheers, Sean. I agree. Awesome conference. Speaking of awesome things, kind of coming up in September is our Light Pentest Light training course, where for 3 days, 3 half days, I give you access to a Windows workstation that's joined to a real domain, and live, we work together and we hack the ever loving snot wads out of it. It is not trying to be a hype man, but it is the most fun thing I've ever done professionally. I love to do this. Would love to hack things with you. If this is something you've already done or you're familiar with, tell a friend, right? Tell somebody who could benefit from this training, and it'll be a good time. Just a bit of history here, just so that I don't totally reinvent the wheel or repeat the wheel. On the 7ms.us website, under the tag of Dropbox, that's where you'll find all the other detailed DIY pen test Dropbox episodes. Okay, so I'm not gonna. I want to do like a little bit of a review today, but not completely go over all the old stuff. So that's where you'll find if you want to kind of start from ground zero of wow, gosh, what software and hardware do I need to build an automated pen test Dropbox, that will get you going in the right direction. Just do it. Okay. All right, Billy. Let's do it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hop over here. Let me make sure you can see this. Okay. This is my dummy. Whoops. This is my dummy machine that I'll use for the sake of demonstrating this automated Dropbox setup. And see, I'm not able to copy and paste this link because I'm through my VMware console here. But if you go to, or just Google for Windows Central unattended Windows 10, you'll find this amazing article that shows you all the steps on how to build a Windows 10 unattended install. So there is some free software you'll need, and some choices you'll need to make to build your unattended install. I am actually going to just briefly pull open my answer file. You end up essentially building a huge XML file that does stuff to automate your setup. So the idea is that in your virtualization software, you build your Windows 10 jump box, you give it some hard drive, you give it this and that, and then you attach an ISO that has this answer file in it. So then what'll happen when you boot that jump box and you say, all right, boot off of this ISO, um, this answer file gets looked at and followed. So what I really love about that Windows Central article is that it shows you how to, for example, skip past all the windows that ask you, hey, what partition do you want to install to? And, do you want to erase it? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? You can put some stuff in this answer file that will just skip all that and say, you know what? I know that I want to just nuke the C drive of this jump box. So just shut up and do it. Now you want to be careful with that, obviously, right? Like if you're bringing a NUC or the box back from client one, maybe you've still got some data to pull off of it. Be really careful if you boot it and then choose boot to ISO, because if you've got your answer file set up for go nuclear, it will. It's not going to stop and warn you. But if you're not comfortable with that, you can make some decisions in this answer file to have it bring up at least a few prompts before you decide to completely obliterate that C drive. But what I did in mine is I kept it really simple. Now again, I didn't code this by hand. This is all coming out of the Windows deployment software. But really, all the only thing I have mine do is lay down the Windows OS, reboot, and then I'm just looking for it here. It really just goes to a website that I have out in the cloud. In this case, I'm just calling it some site, and it pulls down a batch file that then kicks off a PowerShell script and does everything else. And that everything else I'm gonna switch over to next. But I just wanted to show you how I decided to keep it really basic. When I was first getting going with this, what I was doing is trying to build the answer file to have an entry to pull down tool 1 that I needed, and tool 2 and 3 and 4. That just becomes a lot to manage, because then every time you make changes to the answer file, you've got to put it in your custom ISO and then put that ISO where your machines can grab it. So instead, it's just easier for me to just have a batch file out on a DigitalOcean droplet and just make changes to that, so that anytime I boot a new jump box, it always pulls down and runs the latest and greatest changes. Okay, so that batch file gets downloaded, run, and hooks into what I've called here this desktop O2 PS1 script. Obviously, it can be called whatever you want it. But here's a couple of the highlights I wanted to review of things that have helped make for a smoother and more automated install. One thing I did is at the very beginning of the script, I start a transcript log of the rest of the install steps. I like that because sometimes I found, like, I ran this script, got the box out to a customer, and then I'm remoting in and I'm doing the pen test, and I'm like, hey, where's crack map exec, or where's tool Y? And then I came back and I looked at my script and I had a typo. And so as it reached out to GitHub, I typed it git blub or whatever, and it's like, oh, that's why that doesn't work. Well, now what I do is I just capture everything to a transcript file, so that at the end of the install, I can just quick skim it and see if there were any errors or anything in red text. So actually, I'll just run this line just to kind of show you that now if I go into Pentest tools, here's my underscore install text file. And now everything I type in this active session gets logged to that transcript. So if I go, invoke web request 7minsec.com, I don't know, just that. Yeah, okay, whatever. I just wanted to generate something in here, and we pop this open. There we go. I can see I had to invoke web request command and error. So I can come back in here later, search the file for errors, figure out if I missed a tool, figure out if I fat fingered something, and then go on with my day. Okay, so that's a nice thing to have. I'm not going to go through. This is not my exhaustive file. This is just a few things. Again, that helped. I make sure early in the deployment that RDP hole is popped into the firewall, so that on the rare occasion that, like, I get this box out to a customer and everything looks booted, but I can't hit it with, like, my Splashtop software. You know, on a rare occasion, a customer has had to share their screen with me, and they're like, "Hey, I can see that your Windows jump box is up, but you can't get to it." Now I'm able to just RDP in and troubleshoot and figure out, oh, is something wrong with the Splashtop connection? Is there something in the firewall blocking it? But that made life easier to just turn that on from the get go. I've got an install command here to just download and run Chrome, because I mean, God bless you, if you like Internet Explorer and Edge and whatever else they call it as your default, um, I'm not going to stop you. I mean, we're probably not going to be friends in real life, but you could do it. But if you want to run Chrome, here's a quick one-liner, and all this stuff I think is in the past show notes for this series. If not, you can always reach out to me. I'll get my contact information up at the end, and I'm happy to send you any of these little snippets. Okay. Um, the next thing, and this was a big one that I know helped a lot of folks, is we set up a Windows Defender exclusion for our folder full of tools. Okay, so in my Pentest box, I like to keep everything here in users public Pentest tools. But understandably, if you start downloading Crack Map Exec and Rubius and things of that flavor, Defender is going to completely turd its pants. So this little PowerShell command here will add an exclusion and just leave that folder alone. But obviously, if you come in here, then let me copy Rubius. Let's see, God, maybe, copy Rubius to users. What am I? PT admin desktop. If I do that, Defender's gonna freak out, right? So I keep all my stuff in this container so that it doesn't get gobbled. And then we covered quite a bit in the past series that this invoke web request is a great way. My script is filled with dozens of these lines that simply go out to a website, and in this case, pull down 7-zip and just pull it down into the pen test tools folder. So this is how, and maybe you could automate this and make it a little bit more streamlined with Git or something like that. But I just run invoke web request. I go out to various GitHub repositories and places like 7-zip, places like Adobe Acrobat. I just pull down installers so that they're all set and ready to go. Another little, and this is like a super anal retentive thing, but I like and that I'm using is this little snippet here. What this will do is make a little shortcut to whatever folder you want in your little sidebar dealy. I mean, I don't know about you. I personally can't be troubled during the day to go to C drive, users, public, pen test tools. That kind of garbage is for the birds. I like to just have it staring me right in the eye under quick access. So if you wanted to, not that you need an example, I think you probably know. I think this is fairly self-explanatory. But if I just wanted to have a little pin for just my C drive, oh, I suppose C drive's already there. That was a dumb example. How about users? If we wanted to pin that to the side, we could just go users, and there it is. There's a little pin for users. So that's kind of nice. Or if you've got other folders you commonly go to that are somewhere in your C drive hierarchy, run that as needed to make yourself those shortcuts. This one, not secret sauce, but boy, is this nice. This little bundle of joy right here simply goes out and pulls down all of the Windows updates. So I got a lot of email about this series when we first started where folks were like, hey, all the stuff you said makes sense, but boy, is it annoying to keep firing off those Windows updates for 3 or 4 rounds and rebooting. This was right off of either Microsoft site or one of those maybe like SpiceWorks article, something like that. Um, it downloads the updates, although I think I have. Oh, here we go. And then this is key as well. Install the updates, accept all the warnings. Agree to all the things, but don't reboot. Okay. That way, the rest of your script can continue and you can do absolutely everything you need to until like you have to reboot. And that's the part we're coming up on. That's the part that was giving me some trouble. I've had a couple comments on this statement. I had with the very first NUC that I sent out to a customer. I remember it was for it was like a 3 or 4 year engagement where we were doing monthly, like remoting in, doing some light pen testing and vulnerability scanning. And I think it was after maybe the first 90 days or 60 days, went into remote into the system, and it appeared that the cred had changed. It was rejecting it from Splashtop. So eventually I had to schedule some time to go out there, went in to log in locally, and it said, hey, the user account PT admin has expired. And so I don't know if that's always been a Windows 10 default or that changed somewhere along the way in those big update packages, but that was sure annoying. And that, when I was accessing it via Splashtop, Splashtop had no mechanism to show me that the password was displayed and let me refresh it. So now I just run this little snippet to just say, just have the password never expire. Um, and that's fine. I know that some of you real particular security folks will say, hey, you got to have some rotation on that. But the large majority of our assessments are shorter, like 1 to 3 month things, and then we get the box back, and we put a very unique password on each one anyway. So please, mom, don't don't send me hate mail. Um, I'm not going to run this because I already have, but my Windows boot image has just kind of a default weak password on it. So this uh, comes along and picks a more unique password. And actually, that's just a means to an end. That's just to get us to this next part where I'm going to have the system reboot, log in automatically, and then do some stuff. And then I will change the password one more time before I ship it out the door. But anyway, just wanted you to see that command in there, that set local user that'll let you change the cred to something else. Okay, so now we get to the fun stuff. So I had done all this, and now it was a matter of, okay, there are now there's some NUC or system specific things that I want to do before I send this out the door. And one of the things I'd like to do is give this VM a name that makes sense. So, for example, if this was NUC1 of our fleet, I would like this Windows system to name itself as such. But I image these systems from different networks, and so I was trying to do some if statements that would look at the IP scheme, but that was getting to be kind of a lot to manage. So what I sat down and worked on this week was having this system give itself a unique name based on its MAC address, because that won't change in ESXi unless you are like completely nuking the VM and rebuilding it each time. We're not, because again, as I get a VM in from the field, I boot it to this ISO, which formats the C drive and then lays down the OS again. So I keep the hardware the same, even if the disk gets nuked and rebuilt. So this little guy here, let's just run this. This will get the MAC address and then set it to a variable here. So let's look at MAC. There we go. There it is. So now with that set to be $Mac, I can do a statement like this. If the MAC is like right here, right? Set L name or local name is my hint there. Set the local name to be 7MSDT01 or corresponding with NUC1. So let's just do that much. Okay, so now if I just double check, sanity check my work, whoops, L name is DT01. Okay, good deal. And then now, let's see here. And now I'm going to take, I'm going to make a variable called lcred that is going to take my username and password and then use it to actually reassign my my system name. So I'm just going to run all of this. So I'm setting my loser my loser. I'm setting my loser name. Okay, as PT admin. My local password as tangents are delicious, because they are. If you didn't know that. And then I'm going to use that lcred to rename my computer to be lname or 7MSDT01. Okay, so I'll run that much. And here's our confirmation. Okay, our old computer name was PT Student XX. The new computer name is going to be 7MSDT01. Okay, so now this is the part that I was like very happy to get this far, because what I would normally do as of just a few days ago, reboot this VM, and then log back into it and then install the final things. Install the Ninite agent for patching and install Splashtop so that Um, I can remote control the device. If I were right here, right now, to install Ninite or Splashtop, they would report into my portal as PT Student XX. Um, Now you might say, well, Brian, why can't you just go into the portal and just right click and rename? Well, I certainly could, friends. I certainly could. But I don't like those kind of annoying things and I don't like loose ends. So I was not happy until I fully automated the next part of it. But the trick is now, if I reboot to make 7MSDT01 the new machine name, that's all fine and dandy. But I'm going to be I'm going to reboot and be back at the login screen, and I'll have no way. My script will be done running. So then the question becomes, all right, well, ideally, how can you reboot, have the system log in one more time automatically, and then run an additional script one time? Um, that's what I'm going to show you momentarily. This is me building suspense so that you hang in there. Um, so hey, I'll tell you what, we'll get back to that in just a moment. Let me do, if you don't mind, about a 2 minute, just sort of semi shameless self promotion for my new hype video on our security awareness training session called 7 Ways to Not Get Hacked. Okay, check it out, and I'll get some water, and I'll be right back.
The average employee has access to more than just company documents and sensitive files. If even one team member gets hacked, it would be disastrous for them and for the safety of your business. At 7 Minute Security, we offer a fast, fun, and informative training course called 7 Ways to Not Get Hacked, which is full of practical tips and security best practices to protect your team from phishing, malware, and the common traps set by digital thieves. In this remote course, we cover how to pick awesome passwords that are statistically much harder to guess, crack, or steal, and how to manage those passwords with a sensible workflow across the company. We'll show you how attackers brute force their way into your accounts, and there's surprisingly simple steps to make that almost impossible. Next, we'll cover the importance of multi-factor authentication, or MFA, and why this is essential for all accounts, from email to social media. We also run down the workflow for the most secure form of MFA, which is not always the default. From there, we'll defend your digital identity by going on the offense and proactively uncover previous data breaches that might already affect your organization. Then, we help you lock down any accounts that might be at risk. Next, we need to protect your hardware itself with some surprisingly simple steps that will make your PCs and mobile devices even harder to penetrate. With these fortifications in place, it's time to commit to a regular data backup plan, both on-site and off. The good news is there are fantastic tools that make this super easy. Once we're protected, it's time to train ourselves to avoid online risk in the first place. I like to call this killing our curiosity, and it's probably the most important lesson in the whole course. Becoming hyper-aware of cyber threats before they become a problem is the best defense. Finally, we'll cover some tips for protecting yourself while traveling or using devices in public spaces like coffee shops or airports, which are popular hunting grounds for hackers. Once you're armed with our 7 security practices, your team can focus on what they do best, getting great results without the stress of what may be lurking on the network. To learn more about the 7 Ways to Not Get Hacked training course, visit 7minsec.com/training.
All right, there you go. Pretty cool. Okay, so before I get to the last tweak we need to make before we reboot and have the finishing move happen on the system, I just wanted to not forget to talk about that whole transcripting thing that we talked about at the beginning of the episode. When at the very end of my script, I've got a command to stop the transcript. So I'll just run that. Okay. And then this is again something I found on one of those things. Google Stack Exchange. Maybe I even asked. I might have asked Chat GPT about this, but this snippet will send me an email using just a Gmail account or Google Apps account, and attach. Just scroll over here. Attach the install, and this is just because I'm lazy, and it does two things for me. One, lets me know when the machine is pretty much fully baked and ready to head out the door. And then two, I can get an email with the transcript attached, double click it, just scan it really quick. Any errors, anything weird, any red text, da, 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 da. No, good. And then out the door it goes. Okay. But let me just back up and just address the current conundrum here. All right. So as far as me wanting to have this system reboot, automatically log in one more time, and then do another thing or multiple things, here are the registry keys that worked really awesome. Um, and again, I can send this full snippet to you via whatever channel you want. But the three keys that made the difference were setting the auto admin login. Whoops. Well, here, maybe I can do. You know what? I'll do this. Let me get registry editor set. I'll go to this place, and then we can kind of see what it looks like untouched, and then I'll put these keys in play, and then we'll see what that looks like. So it's Microsoft, and then it's, oh, you know what? I can probably do this quicker. Here's one thing that I don't do nearly enough of is like you can do just the autocomplete stuff. So you're like Windows. Whoops, got to spell it right though. NT current. Whoops, current version. Little tab completion, kind of. Win log on. Okay. So right now you'll see, let me just try to get these side by side. Tick, 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 tick. Okay, you'll see auto admin login is set to 0 so that it doesn't automatically log in. And then the other two keys that we're setting of default username, default password, those are, oh, I see. Okay, default domain name, sorry, default username. Oh, that's fine. But there is no default password because, if that's cached, it's right there in the registry for folks to see. So let me run those, and then we'll just confirm that they have populated in the registry. Okay, there we go. Default username, ptadmin. Default password, tangents are delicious, which they are, if you didn't know. And then auto admin login is now set to 1. So if I just reboot, in fact, let's see, do I need to do a sanity check? I might. I mean, this should work because I just did it last night, but let's just go ahead and, like watching paint dry here. Let's just watch the reboot. I just want to like triple verify that works. But then what I'm going to do is another registry, a run once registry entry that is going to tell the system, okay, next time you boot, run the following thing one time. And that's going to be my final script that does the install of the Ninite, install of the splash top. Okay, here we go. So notice I'm logging in automatically. That's great. That's what I want one time, but not all times. So let me just get these open again. Okay. All right. So where were we? We were down here. Okay, we punched in these keys, and then here we go. Here is the run once key that I'm going to say, please run the following one time, and that's my follow-up script, and I'll show you what that guy looks like. Okay, so this is going to run the install for Splash Top. So it's gonna go to my desktop where I have it downloaded, and then just run all the different flags and stuff to just install, set a password, all the things, right? and then do the same thing with Ninite, which is what I use for password management. So, and you can do this with other stuff for free too. Like I know many of you have said, check out Chocolatey and some of these other tools that can just automate the install of popular apps. I just yeah, I've just used Ninite forever. Like back when I was in still sysadmining and network admining, I kind of loved that. So here's a one-liner that's going to install 7-zip Chrome, which we already have, but FileZilla, Notepad, Putty, Reader, Windorstat. These are all things that I often need on my jumpbox. So that just bangs through them. And then as the cleanup step is I want to go and I want to delete those keys that I just made because I don't want this to automatically log in on future reboots. Right. So let's do it. Let's let it rip. I'm just going to put this run once key into play. Guang. Operation completed successfully. Okay, and then I think what I did in that batch file is I might have had it pause just so we can like verify that it ran. Yeah, pause. Okay, so this should, after this reboot, it should log in automatically, run that script, and then just pause for a moment so that we can indeed see that the script did fire. And my next thing, now that I've got this pretty much right where I want it, is I want to be able to do the same thing on the Kali side. So if you're digging this, if you're liking this stuff, just know that's next for me. There we go. So that came in, happened super fast. I intentionally made the agents not point to real exes just so we weren't sitting here watching paint dry any more than we already have. But boom, 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 everything came. Uh, you know, Ninite and Splashtop would have installed. Then these reg keys would have gotten cleaned out. And let's just go ahead. I think regedit will remember where we were, right? Yeah, there we go. So we've got no more cached credentials. And so now, if again, how was that webinar you went to for 7 minute sec? Well, I watched him reboot a VM a bunch of times, and that was quite riveting. But this is just our let's make absolute sure that those cache creds are gone so that this thing isn't always logging in by itself. It's not, I guess, really, it's not a big deal anyway, because this is not somebody's thin client or laptop that's like sitting out in a cube that would be, oh, I logged in automatically. It's a VM inside ESXi, so you wouldn't really be able to just like jump out and do stuff. But still, try to follow security best practices uh, when sending devices out to clients. Yeah, okay, so there we go. So tangents are delicious. And let me just pop open my script one more time. I just have this sneaky suspicion there's something else that was kind of important that I forgot to mention. We did that, we did that, we did that. We did the keys, we did that thing. Transcript. No, we did talk about that. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we did it. We did it. We talked about we did all the things. Please think of and or share questions in the chat if you have any. Otherwise, I will just segue into a few minutes of tangenting since we do have a bit of time left to tell you about my semi-emergency virtual doctor visit for a bee sting. Okay. Okay, I'll keep an eye on questions. Drop them in there if you got them. But I was on vacation last week and on a 4-wheel ride with my family. I was on one by myself, and then my wife and my youngest son were ahead of me, and it had started to rain, so we pulled over briefly. And that hoodie that I'm wearing, I pulled it down and like tied it real tight around my neck just to kind of keep the rain out. We just decided to forge ahead. It was kind of one of those situations where it's like to go back to the cabin would be about the same as going to our destination. So let's just press forward. So we're zipping down this trail, and it's a old like railroad track that the railroad tracks are removed. So it's just straight, and you can go super fast. And we weren't going super fast, but we were going like 35. So we were going on a decent clip. And my wife and son are quite a ways ahead of me, and I'm just zipping along, trying to squint through the rain. And all of a sudden, I feel like this really sharp pain on my arm, right where you see in the picture. And I kind of, slow down. I pull up the sleeve, and I can see kind of the puncture mark there. And my mind right away goes to, did I get did I get a bee or like a hornet up my sleeve at high speed while I was driving? So I pull to the side, I hop off. My wife sees this, and again, the hoodie's tied up tight around my neck. So I'm doing like the Tommy Boy thing, like when he's got the life jacket around his neck and he can't get it off, and she's just doing this, and I'm just like, hold on, Tommy Boy, get the thing untied, throw the sweatshirt down, and sure enough, this quite big monster of a hornet, just angry, flopping around, and he's like just stinging the air. He's kind of mad at the world, and I don't want to get canceled for this, but I was so angry about the pain in my arm that I just curb stomped that guy. I mean, I stomped him into bee dust, because some people were like, "Well, was it a what species? Was it a Northwoods yellow jacket? Was it a this? Was it a that?" I go, "He was just he had a stinger, and he was angry, and he's no longer alive." Um, and it really, like, I hadn't had a sting since I was probably like 8, so it's like, okay, you know, it's in front of my boys. Be a man about this, right? Be tough about this. So we're four wheeling, and I'm like, oh boy, this is really warm. It's really hurting, but I'm just going to be a tough guy about it. And then when we got back about an hour later, I don't know if this picture really captures it. This is the one that I sent to Teledoc, but and this was not even at its worst. I wish I had the other arm to compare to, but it blew up like Nutty Professor style, and the skin got really like leathery and hot. And so I did the Teledoc app thing, and the doctor like connected with me, and it called me back in like a minute and was like, "Yeah, that's really big." She's like, "Do you have allergies? Do you have this? Do you have that?" She said, "If you have any trouble breathing, is your throat feel like it's closing off, lungs tight, any of that?" And I was like, "No, no, I don't think so." And she said, "Well, that kind of stuff can sort of onset. You need to be careful. That can come on strong, about 8 hours after the sting." And I'm looking at my watch, and I'm like, "Oh, cool. That'll be the middle of the night." So that first night, I was just guy laying in bed staring at the ceiling fan, eyes wide open, because my mind was focused on this. Like, am I having a hard time breathing, or is that just a little bit of allergies? Um, but yeah, they ended up putting me on steroids for about a week. I just finished up my dose, and that was kind of a trip in itself. It was a very low dose of prednisone, but they warned me that like I'd kind of get the giggities from it and anxiety at the same time, and that's exactly what happened. Like, I was rip roaring ready to go. I'm like, let's go jet skiing. Let's go this. Let's go climb a mountain with our bare hands. Ah, But then also I was just like, what am I doing with my life? You know, like, have I fulfilled my purpose? It was really, yeah, it was really a trip for the body and mind. So definitely a vacation I will remember. Now we're still got the little puncture. Like, that just is here to stay. That guy wanted to leave me a little love memento, but other than that, arm is kind of down to regular size, and I don't seem to have any problems breathing. So uh, that's it. Little tangent story I wanted to share with you. Let me just check if there's any questions, comments, concerns. I don't see any, so I'll let you get on the way with the rest of your day. Uh, if you've got, you work for some place, or a place that could benefit from some pen testing, risk assessment, training, security miscellany, please, I would appreciate if you would reach out or tell a friend to reach out. All our contact information is at 7minsec.com. And really appreciate you hanging out with us for a while here. Let us know if we can do anything for you. God bless, and we'll see you next week, hopefully. Okay? All right. And if I can find my closing video, I'll totally play that. Stall, stall, stall. And there we go. We'll see you.
You've been watching or listening to 7 Minute Security, a weekly podcast focused on pen testing, blue teaming, and building a career in security. For more episodes like this, visit 7ms.us. And for information about our consulting services, visit 7minsec.com.